right. January 17th. So we are less than 3 days away from the deadline to declare for the NFL draft. But we've received some good news concerning a lot of guys that were considering and eligible and could have made that move, but decided to stay.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, you got Zion Nelson, a guy that had a top 50 pick grade, which, like I said, I was very not critical. I understood that he was young and was growing, and people saw potential in him, but I didn't see top 10. I didn't understand where that was coming from, and I felt like that was unnecessary pressure added to this young man while he was still growing. He's not Evan Neal, where he was signed, sealed, delivered, and all he had to do was go to a good strength and conditioning program. We're talking about a 2-star who was a late rise to a 3-star who had to graduate, literally. He had to grow into his body, had to grow into playing at this level and play against this competition. And he decided to come back for his senior season here at Miami, and that's a blessing. He's a left tackle. He's been a starter since 2019, so that'll be a 3-year starter at that position. And going from 19 to 20 to 21, 4-year start at that position at left tackle, 19, 20, 21, now going into 22. So it's a step in the right direction. A lot of young men in his situation would have just left and took the money, especially because he's already graduated college. So it definitely would be, hey, I'm just go take this money, go be the 50th pick or 60th pick overall to the Eagles or whomever, and start out at right tackle and do my thing. But instead, he's trusting Coach Cristobal and Coach Mirabal, and he wants to refine his skills, get better, and truly be the top 10 pick that a lot of people had him projected as early going into 2021. Another player, Tyrek Stevenson, who we all thought was a day 2 pick, a mid to late day 2 pick in the middle of the late third round there. As a big corner, a 6'1" guy, solid 205, 210-pound dude, big, can play fast, knows how to play the football, is a sound tackler who is aggressive, goes after that football. Those are the kind of things that you want in a corner at that level. Now, he is fast to a certain extent. Now, people want him a little faster, but if you're able to give up the speed with the length and the strength, we'll work with you. And that's what the whole thing was with Tyrek Stevenson, man. We went back and especially for me, Mark, I do the highlight tapes every year. Going on year 3, my first one dropped tonight, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. And speaking of, Tyrek Stevenson's highlight tape from me drops tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on the channel. Today I dropped Charleston's Rambos, so that was pretty cool. He's going to the NFL, but Tyrek Stevenson, I'm watching the film, Mark, and I'm like, it's different. You go back and you watch the film over, you're like, wow, that guy made a lot of plays. Yeah, of course he missed some. Yeah, he missed time to ball. Yeah, he got bombed against Michigan State, but these things happen. And as far as where we've been as a program, these kind of caliber players almost guaranteed day 2, whether it's early or late, guys didn't come back. They would leave. Mark, there's people who had 7th round grades who would much rather go and get NFL coaching, which means we just didn't have a good program. They didn't want to waste their time not being paid. And so they would depart and they would head over to the National Football League. And then they're out of the league in 3 years, coming to the Paradise Camp talking about, yeah, I used to go here. We working on no longer having those issues. And if you do leave or leave early, it's because you'll be a 1st or 2nd round pick guaranteed, and you're a top-notch player. We want days long gone of being day 3U, where guys leave here as redshirt sophomores or juniors, and it's really no weight behind what they've done here at the University of Miami. So those are the top 2 guys that decided to stay. In third, Gilbert Fryerson, striker, linebacker, kind of hybrid prospect, decided to come back. He's also a 6-foot, early 200-pound player who's going to be moving to more of an outside linebacker role once we get into this 3-4, in my opinion. 4-3, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a great move for him. He was open and honest that he was thinking about hitting the portal, wasn't happy here. So one of our boosters decided to say, okay, not feeling happy, here's $50,000. Come on back. So he decided to come on back and sign his NLI deal to come back and be a part of the University of Miami's football program again. So that's another young man we were able to hold on to. And then, of course, you have DJ Ivey and Al Blaze Jr., those two guys who may not be on the highest list. They may not be the greatest players, but they're program guys. Program guys who have given their all to the University of Miami since 2019, coming in as freshmen. And hey, they want to come in and be a part of a real program, coached under Coach Cristobal. And I want them to come and experience the difference under Coach Cristobal compared to what they've had to deal with under Coach Diaz the last couple of years. So there's a couple of guys who are coming back, and for some people, they have negative things to say. In my opinion, there's really no need to do that. These young men want to come back and be a part of a true program for the first time since Butch Davis walked out of that door and never came back. And we can't fault them for that. If you have an opportunity to come back and play in the ACC Coastal, who's to say Miami isn't in a prime position to win the Coastal and play on Championship Saturday and see what happens against a solid NC State, Wake Forest, or Clemson team? Now, that's a little bit ways down the road, but it shows that these young men are willing to buy in if they want to come back and be a part of this program. And that's one of the first check marks that I like to see. Recruit the high school guys, Mark. We talked about this before. Recruiting is not just one part. It's recruiting your own roster and being able to evaluate that roster and be able to look young men in the eyes and say, hey, you may not play here. You got 3 years left. You got 2 years left. Let's help you find somewhere to go. Or, hey, you got a year of eligibility left. You got a day 3 grade. Come back. Give us opportunity to build a relationship with you. Let's coach you up the right way. Let's see if we can get you into that day 2 and late day 1 conversation. And that's what Coach Cristobal is doing.
Yeah, so it will be interesting. You mentioned DJ Ivey and a few others that have been serviceable players, but may not be playing up to their recruiting ranking. I don't know offhand where they were ranked as high school players. But to see whether this coaching staff, as opposed to the previous coaching staffs, will be able to make a noticeable difference. Now, that all depends on the player, too. The player might just have a ceiling and it's been somewhat reached, but I got to think, as we've discussed, and you've outlined more so than we've discussed, that there are going to be, I would think, with Mario Cristobal and the type coaching staff he's putting together, more examples of guys that are going to be much better football players as juniors and seniors than they were as freshmen and sophomore, and not just stepping on campus. Okay, this is a talented dude, and he's an okay player, and then he's an okay player at the end of his career.
Right. I mean, both of those young men were project guys. Blaze Jr. was a 3-star guy, late 4-star rise, projected more of a safety, came here to play corner. And again, like I said, Mark, it's not their fault. Miami was not in a good situation program-wise. Miami did not have much depth at cornerback. And there were games where Al Blaze Jr. and DJ Ivey at 18 years old, who are both project recruits, had to go out there and start. And not only start, but be taught really bad habits of playing the technique of eyes and hands at all times and playing off coverage. It was just a really bad situation for them. And I've been critical of them publicly because I felt like these guys aren't good. Why do we have to keep putting them out there? But when you go back and you look at where we were as a program, who else were we going to put out there? And then, Mark, we continue to recruit project players. You know, now Christian Williams was a 4-star recruit, top 15 cornerback in the nation. He comes here, things didn't work out. He hits the portal. He didn't even work out at USF. So maybe there was a misevaluation in the recruiting process. Maybe that young man wasn't as good as people thought. You got guys like Isaiah Dunstan and Brian Balaam. These guys were safeties who we brought in and moved them to corner, and we're trying to figure out if they could help in the depth situation because we weren't landing cornerback recruits. So it's been a tough ride, Mark. It's been tough, and you know it's a blessing to get to the point now where we don't have to worry about those things moving forward, and it brings me a nice joy and a smile on my face to know that these young men chose to come back because I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them to get some quality coaching, get quality strength and conditioning, and just get a different level and to be able to experience something. Now, the wins and losses, We'll figure it out. That'll happen when they do. But the blessing that these young men will be able to have, I'm happy for them, and I really am.